Hi, Joe Cerrone with a review of our project Lab 7. It's actually Lab 7 Project 10 because we're using a textbook and the textbook calls them projects and we call them labs, and I sequentially put the labs in order. So the small box project is to create this small box. And on this small box, we're going to start using horizontal expansion, or we're just going to use design concepts where we go through and we scale the insert and we print the insert in a separate color so that we can kind of click it in like a jigsaw puzzle. And this is a great way to get multiple colored objects onto a project. And so here's one of the boxes. I kind of scaled it down. And what I did was the leaf inserts using horizontal expansion, and I drew the object in CAD. The tricky part of this project is getting the box top to kind of fit onto the object without being too tight or too loose. And so we'll talk about that as we go into these projects. Typically, I find when I work in inches, a 32nd of an inch is about right as far as what I would offset the object to be so it would fit in it like a puzzle. So that it kind of snaps in without being too loose. But if it is loose, that's all right. That's what we have glue for. And so there is a lot of post-processing that we can do. Let's take a look at the project itself. So you'll download the project itself. The dimensions are all given to you here in the drawing. And so let's look at that. And so here's my drawing of the small box. And you're welcome to use loft commands and twisting it and doing some interesting and cool things, but I do want you to put a logo into the object. And you can use the technique that we used for the Cubs, which I'll talk about briefly, or you can use just regular CAD design techniques. If you're using SolidWorks, when you use SolidWorks, you want to uncheck merge objects when you do like extrusion, because it'll fuse them together with a Boolean operation. And I can talk to you guys who are the SolidWorks users as you work with those designs. All right, and so here's our box. It's in millimeters. It's 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, and they put a 25-degree twist onto it. This area right here is a little bit tricky, so depending on how you work with the design, you can go ahead and work with it the way it is, or if you want to make some altercations to it, that's fine also. But it's a decent project. It's 100 millimeters by 100 by 80 millimeters tall. And then as we look at the project, we model the box, and then we make an offset, and we either shell it or you just subtract it. And then you can look at some of these other Boolean operations for cutting it or slicing it until we get something that comes out like this. Now, switching over to my CAD drawing, I've given you the file with all of the parts in it. And so this is what I like to do. I like to just start off with a basic top view with the dimensions on there. So if I were to go in here and just check how big this is, let's use the measure command this time. So we'll say, actually, if you just click on it and then you click on one of the grips and then you bring it to another grip, it'll tell you how long that is on a good day. On a bad day like today, it's not, well, it's always something. But if I explode it, I could probably get it to measure it. Let's try that. Try it again. Doesn't want to. There it goes. So it appears to be 90. So I'm a little bit off, but I'm measuring the wrong one. I didn't see this yellow one around the outside edge. There we go. And so that's 100 millimeters. And then I took 10 millimeters off and then another 10 millimeters off as I created the construction. I used one end to model the box top and the other end to model the bottom. And what I want you to do is I want you to use the oak leaf or your own logo to emboss the top of it. Okay, you can emboss the side of it also. There I am, camera one. or you can emboss the top. It just depends on if you're twisting the object, so that you have something that you can press the inserts into. Since I'm in CAD, I'm just going to show the CAD part first. And so what I would do is I would go and I would get the oak leaf from the D2L core shell. And so here's my oak leaf. It's a drawing file. You can bring these into SolidWorks as well. I'm going to download it. And I'm going to open it. And so it's opened on my CAD system. And what I did was I created an oak leaf for our school logo. And branding things is kind of the big thing that I want to be able to do in this course. What I'll do is I'll copy it with the base point. So I'll say copy with a base point, and then I'll make the center of this, and then I'll select it and hit enter. And then I'll go to my project 12. Sorry, this project here. And I'm going to come over to my box top. And on my box top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a user coordinate system on the top. So I'm going to say UCS, and then I'm going to go with the 3-point. I don't know why they didn't put 3-point on here, but if I type in 3, it'll give me the 3-point. And so what I'll do is I'll specify the origin. Let's try that again. I guess I could say face. Let's try that. There's my face. There we go. I'll accept that. That'll work. And then I'll go and I'll insert, or I'll copy and paste. I think I could just go Control V. There's my oak leaf. And so I'm going to paste it right here. And then I'm going to scale it. And so I'll say scale. And what I'll do, here's the trick with AutoCAD, is if you say L for last. Otherwise, what I would need to do would be to turn off the layers so that I don't get the box. And then what I'll do is I'll bring this up. I only got a piece of it. So apparently I'll have to take it out of visual style, and I'll try this again. So we'll scale this. And that's acceptable. It's not exactly, I could make a little bit more work of it if I wanted to get it into the center. And then what I'll do here is that I will press pull it and copy it. And so before I do anything with CAD, I like to make a copy of it. And so I'm going to copy the leaves over to the side. I like to use coordinates. And so what I like to do is like grab some geometry so that if I move it back, I can move it back quickly. And then what I want to do is I want to press pull it. I'm going to make this layer current. And so that way it matches. And I'll say extrude. I know I said press pull first, but extrude is faster. I'll select it. I'll hit enter. And then I'll go up in the direction that I want to extrude it. And I'm going to say 5. And so that's a pretty generous extrusion. As I go into it, I'm going to undo that. And let's make it 3. And that's about a layer's worth. So we'll say 3. And there we go. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to subtract it after I do that. And so I'm going to say extrude. And I could press pull it, but again, extrude is faster. And so there's my geometry. And then I'll say, let's go with 3. And then let's check it to make sure it went the right way. So shift middle mouse wheel. And so let's put on a visual style. It did. So it did go the right way. And then I can subtract that geometry out. And so I'll go into subtract. I'll select the larger shape. I'll hit enter. And then I'll select the leaf pieces. And that's all there's to it. What we want to do here now is to export these two separately And when we bring this one into the build, we will then use the horizontal expansion. So with that, we've modeled this box. I'm going to save it and export it and open it up in the 3D Builder, actually in the Dremel Slicer. So let's do that. I'm going to stop the video and create a second one for the next part.